Hey guys, how's it going? It's Kara here with another Diablo Immortal video. And in today's video, I'm going to be breaking down the best set items for Barbarian class, and then also talk about the best dungeons to farm, the best bang for your buck, so you can get as many of the actual good sets as possible. Let's talk about the actual good sets for Barbarian. First one is going to be Grace of the Flangeland. All continual damage, chainmail damage, and persistent ground damage increased by 15%. Each time you damage an enemy 5 times, you'll do an additional X amount of damage that's dependent on your personal damage. And in my case, that's 3,724. I think this is really good. You know, obviously for the whirlwind, I would say this is probably going to be the most sought after Barbarian set bonus. You have whirlwind. This is the core move of your kit. You're going to be getting an extra 50% damage there. Since you're going to be hitting people so many times with this, you're going to be proccing that 4 out of 6 set bonus as well. There's other things, for example, on your legendary boots, you can change them to ground stomp. It does an actual AoE damage, persistent ground damage that's going to be increased by 50%. You can also change your sprint and have fire going as well. So theoretically have all of those and then start spinning, doing an absolute ton of damage to big AoE mob situations. I think easily this is going to be a no-brainer set. Probably the main one I'm going to be focusing on. Going to help you in a wide range of gameplay. Next one is going to be isatar imbued. This one's interesting in my opinion. So each time you defeat an enemy, you gain 30% increased movement speed for 2 seconds. Damage dealt increased by 2.5% for every 5% increase in your movement speed, up to a maximum damage increase of 25%. So that right there is very good. Normally, I don't like effects that rely on you killing the enemy. The hard content in this game, for example, challenge rifts, killing the enemy is the difficult part. You want that extra damage, like for example in the previous set. But I think this is going to be pretty useful, especially just the 2-piece set bonus for open world farming and be able to keep up your kill streaks by yourself without needing to rely on sprint. I can see this being really useful. And then the 4 out of 6 is going to be really nice too. When you finally get the 4 out of 6, I can see that 25% extra damage increase when you sprint and stuff like that being really useful in doing good single target damage. And then a lot of the bosses too in this game will summon minions. So you can, even in a boss encounter, you can be proccing this 30% movement increase, which would then in turn increase your damage on the single target. Even see this being useful in those situations that I have to test it to see how much worse it is in really hard PvE content versus the previous set. As a quality of life, this would be the main set I would want to keep on, because for the most part in this game, you're going to be farming the open world anyway. So this is going to be a really good way to get more experience because you're going to keep your kill streaks longer. You're going to kill them faster. You're going to move to each camp faster. Obviously, this is not going to be good in PvP at all. There's definitely better sets there, but potentially slept on set that I just wanted to bring up that I think is going to be really good and something that I want to get personally and try out. Okay, so the next one is going to be Vithu's Urges here. And this is going to be your set that you're going to take into team environments because Barbarians don't really do good single target damage. So this is going to be how you're going to stay useful in those situations because you have 2 buffs, one of them in Swift Wing by giving everyone movement speed in your party. And then also the other one is going to be your Battlemaster's Helm. That's going to give everyone more damage in an AoE area. So what this is going to do is going to allow those buffs that you're going to be giving to everyone last longer. So Vithu's Urges increases the duration of all beneficial effects on you and your party members by 30%, and then increases the target's attack speed by 30% for 3 seconds each time you use this skill to grant a beneficial effect to yourself or a party member. So the key thing I want to highlight on the 4 out of 6 is that there's no cooldown on this. So if you could just keep buffing people, you're going to be giving them that extra attack speed. And also, this is just straight up as well. A lot of these things have like a 20-second cooldown or a 40-second cooldown. This doesn't have that. So this is mainly going to be used in like Hella Quarry bosses. I like this in dungeons because the main thing is just killing the boss at the end, especially if it's a boss that doesn't have any invulnerability phases and you can just one-shot it with, if you have some demon hunters, maybe some necros that do really good damage. So this is going to be your go-to. I think this is probably going to be the second best set. You have your Grace of Flangeland for main stuff. This is what I use to be useful in content where we're trying to kill one enemy, because you just have absolutely no shot of being able to do more damage than these ranged classes. War Rags of Shalbass. Primary attack damage increased by 15%, and your primary attacks gradually increase your attack speed up to a maximum of 25%. So this is going to be good if you make your whole build around doing good single target damage. Instead of trying to buff your team, this is going to be more of a solo situation where you're trying to make yourself better, which if you're ever in a team situation, there's really no point in doing that because other classes just do single target damage so much better than us that it's kind of pointless to even try to keep up with them. But if you're doing like challenges, for example, and you want to be able to kill a boss faster, this might be the move here. So if you're ever going to be taking this set, it's all about doing single target damage in a party alone. The skills you're going to need to take: Frenzy for sure, It's way better than lacerate in doing single target damage. And then obviously you're going to want to take Wrath of the Berserker as well. It's going to be up to you if you want to bring a buffing set or if you personally want to do the most damage. It's also going to be helpful in like hard challenge rifts or Path of Blood. I can see this being insanely good in Path of Blood because you have no one to rely on and you need to do a ton of damage. So I can see that's where this set's really going to shine. Then the last set that's a situational one is mainly going to be the PvP set here. Is going to be Feasting Baron's Pack. And increases the duration of your abilities that cause loss of control by 30%, and then increases damage done from all sources by 15% to enemies suffering under your loss of control effects. Okay, if you're going to be using this set, you absolutely need to have the Furious Charge with the boost on your legendary, Screaming Fury. So Furious Charge now charges to a location, damaging all nearby enemies and knocking them up into the air. Also increases your maximum charges to 2. So what it does is it actually lowers your charges from 3 to 2. Significantly better because a little bit more range. You can actually aim it. When you jump there, then it knocks up everyone in that range. So it's going to increase the duration of that knockup by 30%. Then it increases the damage of those people under loss of control by a percentage as well. So I think that's going to be the main thing you're going to want to do there. Also, if you have Chip of the Stone Flesh, that's a legendary gem. When you put them in a loss of control state, then that's going to start racking up the damage there as well. I can totally see other sets in this being really good for PvP as well, but this is the main one that I can see really tailor-made for PvP. Also, another thing to keep in mind here is that the Gathering is very popular. This Whirlwind pulls all enemies it damages. That's not considered a loss of control. That's not going to do it. You need to have hard CC, and the best way a Barbarian could do hard CC is going to be jumping in and knocking them up. So then lastly, I wanted to talk about what is the most efficient dungeons you could be farming to get as many of these set bonuses as possible in one dungeon. You always want to farm these when you get boosted rates. In the Codex, you can see boosted rates. So right now it's Rapids and Cavern of Echoes. So ideally, you would want to get a ton of the sets from this if you want to farm this, because even with the boosted rates, they're really not that good a drop rate. Ideally, what's going to happen is you're going to find one that has a ton of drops for you in multiple different sets, because no dungeon carries multiple set pieces of the same set bonus. So you have to spread them around anyway. But ideally, you would get one that, because we covered 5 different set bonuses here, that you would get a couple of those set bonuses. You want to look at your character and see where your experience reduction's at. So I'm at 60%. I'd probably want to be a little bit lower than this to actually start farming dungeons, because you don't really get much experience. You don't get many legendaries. You don't get many set bonuses anyway. So this is something that you have to sacrifice quite a bit, because you could be open world farming and getting a ton of experience, ton of legendaries, ton of drops, monster essences, so like other equipment. There's so many more things you get from open world farming. So you got to have a good reason to want to stop doing that and then do the set bonuses, because the set bonuses are very good, but when you compare the two, it's kind of feels bad. You could even argue, screw the set bonuses, wait until Hell 4, way down the line, and then start focusing on them, because you can't even get the 6Ps anyway. But I think that's a little extreme. You want to start, hitting good power spikes and at least farm it a little bit, throw it in there, and then way down the line when you can actually get the 6 pieces, that's when you can really start focusing on it. Because eventually Paragon's just not going to matter anymore. We're going to cap. Let's talk about the best dungeons to get the most sets. We don't really care if rings could potentially drop from these sets. So the ones that actually drop the most for the sets that we listed here in the video here. So out of the good sets, these dungeons drop 3 pieces. So we got Pit of Anguish, Mad King's Breach, Cavern of Echoes, Temple of Namari. Those all drop 3. And then this will all be linked down in the description below if you want to see that. Then Rapids drops 2. So that's going to be the main thing. There's really no one dungeon that drops 4 pieces and you'll be happy with it. And then you can kind of mix and match. But for the most part, I would say Pit of Anguish and Mad King's Breach are some of the best value you can get, because it's some of the better sets. Out of all the sets I listed, I would say Grace of the Flangeland and the Vithu's Urges are going to be the 2 main ones I'm really going to prioritize. I do a lot of group content, so I want to be able to boost everyone up, and you really start to feel the damage drop off in certain PvE content when it's just all single target damage. So I want to just have the people that actually do the damage do more. And then also for a lot of solo content like Challenge Rifts and Path of Blood, I want to have Grace of the Flangeland. For that, you're going to get a lot of pieces in those 2 sections there. So that's going to do it for this video, guys. Let me know down in the comments below if you found this helpful. All this information will be linked down in the description below. And with that, guys, I'm out of here. Peace.